What do we do when we don't feel like we have the energy to do anything? Before I dive into some things that we can do on those days where we don't feel like we're able to give at full capacity, I want to share the importance of learning what it looks like in the lead up to that feeling of burnout or that feeling of overwhelm before you actually get there. And this is something that I've been experiencing in the last week or so. So as one of my best friends would say, I'm not speaking to you from out the side of my neck. She said that to me yesterday. I said, what? But I found it hilarious. I think we can all agree that we've all had some kind of interaction with the feeling of being burnt out, right? The feeling of you did the most one day and the next day you can't. You just can't. You have little to nothing to give. It's important to create balance in our lives. And when I say this with full awareness that our lives will not be perfectly balanced on a daily basis. No matter what your life looks like, there are always external influences, internal influences, whether it's your mood on the day that you wake up, whether you're feeling under the weather. There are all these different types of internal forces that can make us feel a little bit off track, make us feel like we're not able to give what yesterday's best was, right? And so there's something I want us to recognize is the importance of creating sustainable expectations of ourselves and of being mindful of, okay, if I give 100% today, or if I give 110% today and I go all out, yada, 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 how is that going to leave me feeling tomorrow? Having the awareness of sustainability and longevity is what we're really after. I speak for myself in this space, right? It's like I'm looking for a lifestyle that I can maintain, that I can upkeep. I'm looking to create productive habits that I can maintain, that supports the idea of the middle way, not bouncing from extremes, like mad productive one day and madly unproductive another day. And that's something that is a work in progress for me, and I'm sure for many other people as well. This middle way concept is not just for productivity, it's for everything. It's about how we respond to life in general. It's about our choices. Finding the middle way with our lives is so important. Being able to be mindful that even though your tank may be full today, what is the journey that you're taking? Ask yourself, this is how I feel today. If I use all the fuel I have in my tank in this moment on this day, 1, how far is that going to take me? 2, when is my next opportunity to refuel? We really have to learn how to moderate our activity. What I'm doing my best to embody in my practice of life on a day-to-day basis is being aware of the extremes, essentially. I do not want to live in extremes. Either way, I have recognized that oftentimes with extreme joy and extreme pleasure comes the come down, comes the hangover, comes the dopamine deficit. Our energy is always going to be fluctuating. Back when I started going to yoga classes, I remember some of the yoga teachers urging us to be aware of where our bodies were at today, in this moment. Not how we felt when we woke up in the morning, not what we had to do after the class or tomorrow, but to just check in with our bodies right there, right now, in this moment, and be present to what is. To recognize any self-judgments arising in this moment, because they're reflections of beliefs that we have within us, and they can be doorways to greater understandings of ourselves, and we can take the opportunity to let go of those. So now that you've taken a moment to ask yourself what you need, I'm going to share some different things from my personal space and journey. I hope that this can serve as a reminder to you to what you already know. Being realistic, knowing that at times we are going to burn ourselves out, and at times we're going to wake up on days when we have things to do, but we are not feeling capable. On such days, there are certain things that are non-negotiables. Because what can happen when we have those days is we can just feel crap. We can just feel like, oh, I'm shit, I'm terrible, I'm letting everyone down, blah, blah, blah. So when we have our non-negotiables in place, they're for us, they're feeding us. These are signs that you're sending to yourself, letting you know that you care about yourself. Something that is also important on these days is what we feed ourselves. And that can be from thoughts, how we speak to ourselves, what we feed ourselves with in media, as well as how we nourish ourselves with food. Be kind to yourself. Have a level of compassion for yourself. That's one thing. The second thing is that on these days, you really are going to need to cut out all of the things that you may not notice drain your energy. For me personally, I recognize that certain conversations are super draining on these days. I recognize that consuming large amounts of social media or television or phone calls or anything like that is super draining on these days, right? So on the days when you are feeling that low energy, do your best to cut out all of the things that just add to that, all of the things that continue to drain you. Anywhere that your attention goes, your energy is flowing, and it's not necessarily that it's coming back to you. Sometimes your energy is just flowing out. Do your best to do things that are safeguarding your energy on those days. So think about putting your phone down as much as possible on those days, being present, and doing things that are going to help give you energy as opposed to take it away. Which brings me on to nourishment. When we take conscious breaths and we know how to breathe, we learn how to breathe properly, we are actually able to restore our energy. We're able to bring ourselves up in energy with our breath. We're able to stabilize with our breath. We're able to calm with our breath. So consider taking up some kind of breathwork practice. I've been learning a lot about breath over the years, honestly, and recently in Freedom Love Tribe Gang, which is a community online that I kind of co-host. We have a good friend of ours called Cairo Woodward, and he facilitates breathwork sessions every Sunday. It's a really beautiful space, and I've learned so much from him. Having this weekly check-in with my breath is what's enabled me to cultivate breathwork as more of a regular practice. So I'm really grateful for that, and definitely really recommend. There are so many resources on breathwork out there. Look into your breath. It's such an amazing tool, a gift of life. The other thing I wanted to touch on was food. So on these days, it's really tempting to reach for sugary foods. What I urge is that you choose foods that are nourishing, foods that are not too hard to digest, and foods that have stable actions in your body. You know, things like sugar and coffee, they often give us highs, followed by quite severe troughs. And they really could impact your next sleep cycle or your energy levels the next day, you know? So again, thinking about longevity and sustainability, consider how what you're doing today is setting you up for tomorrow and the next day and so on. You may have a busy day ahead of you and you have this low energy. You could wake up in the morning, become aware of where you're at. And sometimes that is really difficult, but take the time and space to be aware of where you're at, and maybe even have a little conversation with yourself and your body, saying, like, sometimes I'll say something to myself like, I know all you want to do today is rest, and I hear you, And today we have responsibilities that we cannot shirk away from on this day. And there are things that I'm going to do to reduce the amount of pressure on you today. I'm going to limit my social media intake. I'm going to make sure that I eat well and keep you hydrated. I'm also going to take some moments of conscious breathing so that you know that I'm here, I'm with you, so that this body can be nourished with breath before we start the day, before we get out of bed. And I promise you that when this day is over, that I will take time to wind down and that we will have some time to rest. Even that can be a little bit ideal. Truly it can. And if you are able to take 5 minutes to yourself in any way, shape or form, even if it's when you go to the bathroom, even when you're brushing your teeth, while you're in the shower, if you can use those moments to breathe instead of think manically, instead of panic, instead of rush, use any moment that you have to touch base, to recenter. That in itself, a few conscious breaths, those things make a world of difference. Because I've been cultivating certain practices, this low energy day looks different for me right now than it may have a couple of months ago, or definitely a couple of years ago. So this morning I was still able to do a movement practice, and it actually really helped me. It's nothing too intense, something that I can be mindful with, and I saw that as an offering to myself, to my body, as an offering, because I'm consciously moving energy through my body. And sometimes we feel super low energy because we have stagnation. We have stagnant energy in our body, which just means that energy is trapped in certain places. Just like where you see fresh flowing water, things look vibrant and there's more life. And when you see stagnant water, it's not healthy. Things are not growing there as much. And we wouldn't drink that water. We wouldn't give that to ourselves. We would drink the fresh running water. That's how I see movement practice. It's me showing myself and giving myself that flush, wringing, like doing twists and stuff like that, just wringing certain things out and moving energy, moving oxygen, air, prana through my body. Take the time to breathe consciously, to move energy through your body, and to eat well on these days. Find out, even if you don't ask, is it going to hurt if I move some things around? If I put this task, which I don't think I can do today, to tomorrow and swap some things around, is that possible? Is it possible for me to create a list of things I can do on a lower energy day? If you don't have any responsibilities on you today, or on one of those days when you're feeling that low energy, have gratitude in that moment. Awareness and gratitude that you are able to take time for yourself. And secondly, have this awareness that in this moment, perhaps the biggest judgment and biggest weight on you is your mind, and that you can let go of that. We're living in a world where success, the idea of success is really about all the things that you can accomplish. We're living in a world that is very go, 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 go. And we often hold ourselves to these often unrealistic and kind of crazy ideals. Create sustainable routines for yourself. Or things that, maybe routine is not the right word for everyone, but things that you do on a daily basis or weekly basis that help you to move forward in life. And if you are having one of those days where you're able to stay home or you don't have too much going on, take it slow. Allow the emotions to come and go. Recognize that this too shall pass. this day, this feeling, this weight, this lack of energy. This too shall pass. Those who are adaptable are successful. We need to be able to adapt to the days that life throws at us, to the days that we have within ourselves, and having things that help us within the space, being adaptable, adapting what you do to best serve you, and knowing that when you're vibrant, you're better able to show up in the world for others. Your intuition, your body has the knowing that you need, and sometimes I'm here to remind you of things. If you have some tips for either avoiding burnout or for what you do when you're experiencing burnout, please let me know in the comments below. I'd really love to come by and have a read, see what you guys are saying. Yeah, I hope you found this helpful, and if you did, please give it a thumbs up, and I'll see you in the next video. Blessings, y'all.